All right, let's talk about money. The world of personal finance can feel, well, super complicated, right? It's full of confusing jargon and rules that nobody seems to explain, but getting a handle on it is one of the most important things you can do. So we're going to break it all down right here, right now.
You know that feeling? You get the notification that you've been paid, you get all excited, and then you check your bank account, and the number is way smaller than you thought. It feels just like this. You did all the work, but a big piece of your money just vanishes into thin air. So where's it actually going?
So here's the game plan. We're going to go on a little journey together. First, we'll look at your paycheck and what money even is. Then, we'll dig into the invisible forces that are always changing your money's value. After that, we'll talk about your financial reputation, take a peek at the bigger economic picture, and finally, get to the good stuff, how to make your money actually work for you.
Okay, Section 1. Let's start with the absolute basics. You get paid, but then what? Where does that money actually go when you put it in the bank? The answer might surprise you.
Let's imagine you earned a $2,000 paycheck. Awesome, but you don't actually get $2,000. You only take home about $1,456. So what happened? Well, a chunk goes to federal and state taxes for things like roads and schools. Then there's Social Security, which is basically a forced retirement plan, and Medicare, which is health insurance for older folks. Yeah, it feels like a big hit, but that's just part of the deal.
Now, you take that money you have left and you deposit it in the bank. Most of us kind of picture our cash sitting in a giant, secure vault with our name on it. But that's not what happens at all. Think of a bank less like a storage unit and more like a financial matchmaker.
So check this out. Let's say you deposit $1,000. The bank knows that you're probably not going to ask for all of it back tomorrow, so it only keeps a little bit on hand. It then takes the rest, say $900, and lends it out to someone else who wants to buy a car or start a business. And of course, they charge that person interest. That's how banks make money. Your money becomes their product.
Okay, so your money is in the bank, or maybe it's not. But here's the thing. Even when it's just sitting there, its value is always changing. And that's thanks to two really powerful forces you can't even see.
The first one is inflation. You know this feeling. It's when you go to buy a bag of chips, and not only does it cost more than last year, but you open it up and it feels like it's half air. That's inflation in a nutshell. Your $5 bill is still a $5 bill, but it just doesn't buy as much stuff as it used to. Its power is slowly draining away.
The other force is interest, and man, this one is a real double-edged sword. When you're paying it, like on a credit card, it is your absolute worst enemy. It quietly turns a small purchase into a massive headache. But when you're earning it, then it becomes your best friend. It's like having a tiny employee who works for you 24/7, making you money while you sleep.
Let's see just how powerful that little employee can be. Imagine you invest just $100. At first, it feels like nothing's really happening. It's just sitting there. But then, over time, something amazing starts to happen. It's called compound interest. Your money starts earning its own money. Your original $100 earns a little interest, and then that interest starts earning interest. Before you know it, your $100 has made a clone of itself. Now you have $200. And it doesn't stop. Those clones start making their own clones. Suddenly, 200 becomes 400. This is the real cheat code to building wealth. It's not about being a genius or getting lucky. It's about giving your money enough time to multiply all by itself.
So we've talked about earning money, saving it, and growing it. But what about when you need to borrow it? To buy a house or a car? Well, that all comes down to your financial reputation.
And that reputation is boiled down into one three-digit number, your credit score. Now, this is really important. A credit score is not a measure of how rich you are. It has nothing to do with your wealth. It's a measure of trust. It's a lender's way of asking one simple question. If I lend you this money, how likely are you to pay me back?
So what goes into this magic number? Well, it's a few key things. The biggest one by far is just paying your bills on time. They also look at how much of your available credit you're using, how long you've had your accounts, if you have different kinds of credit, and if you're constantly applying for new cards.
Honestly, this is the best way to think about it. If you just ignore your credit score, it can make a huge mess of your life later on. But if you take care of it, pay attention to it, it can be an amazing tool that opens up huge opportunities for you, like buying a home.
Okay, let's zoom out from our personal bank accounts for a minute and look at the big picture. Because our money doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? We're all riding these massive economic waves, whether we realize it or not.
The best way to think about the economy is like a party. It moves in cycles. First, you have the boom times, when jobs are plentiful and everyone's spending money. The drinks are flowing. Then you hit a peak, when things start to feel a little shaky, like the lights flicker. That leads to the bust, or a recession, which feels like the party's over and all that's left are sad lo-fi beats. But it's never permanent. Eventually, things reset, and you get that feeling of hope and overpriced coffee as a new cycle begins.
So with all these things happening, inflation, economic parties, and hangovers, how in the world do you actually get ahead? Well, that brings us to our final and maybe most powerful section, putting your money to work.
First, we have to understand what value even is. A regular rock you find on the ground, it's just a rock. But a shiny yellow rock, gold, we say that's extremely valuable. But why? Not because it has some magical power. It's valuable simply because for thousands of years, we've all agreed that it's valuable. That's perceived value, and it's the reason stocks or even art can be worth millions. It's all based on collective belief.
The best way to beat inflation and actually build wealth is to invest. You can buy stocks, which are basically tiny little pieces of ownership in a company. You could buy bonds, which is like you loaning your money to the government or a big corporation. You can buy funds, which are just big baskets of stocks and bonds bundled together. Or you can buy physical stuff like real estate. The goal for all of them is the same, to turn the money you have into more money.
But listen, this is the most important thing to remember about all of this. Investing is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It just isn't. The real magic isn't finding some hot new stock. The real magic ingredient is time. Just letting that compounding engine run year after year, decade after decade. And that really brings us to the final, most important question. All of these things, taxes, inflation, interest, credit, they are happening right now, whether you're paying attention or not. Your money is always busy, always working. So the only question you really need to ask yourself is it working for you or is it working against you?